I believed as a mainstream Mormon that God the Father was a polygamist, that Jesus Christ was a polygamist. In the mind of a mainstream Mormon, there is the belief that polygamy is the order of heaven, that it will be practiced in eternity. You can still see the doctrine of polygamy practiced in the work for the dead, where a man can be sealed to multiple wives, whereas a woman can only be sealed to one man. I was raised as a seventh-generation Mormon. The goal of my life was to follow Joseph Smith and to conform to his teachings. As I studied the Journal of Discourses, one of the things that struck me was just the emphasis on the plurality of gods. Not only that, but the teaching of polygamy was very prominent there, and the teaching that in order to become gods, that men and women had to enter into this principle. It would be inconsistent with early Mormon teaching to believe that you can become a god without entering into polygamy. So I made the decision to come out here to Manti. The LDS Church excommunicated me, not so much for believing these things, but for my having been baptized into a splinter group or a sect. People will say, well, you joined the TLC because you're just a man who was after sex. I say, no, I'm a man who wanted to live consistent with the teachings of my church and with the teachings of Joseph Smith, who I believed to be a prophet of God, and Brigham Young, who I believed to be a prophet of God, because that's what I was taught. If Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, and John Taylor were in the mainline Mormon church today, they would be excommunicated for practicing polygamy. Compromises were made, beginning with polygamy. Jim Harmston, he claimed to have been visited by 4 angels. After I joined the True and Living Church of Jesus Christ of Saints of the Last Days, I started to study the history of Joseph Smith. What I saw was that Joseph Smith had rewritten his own revelations, and that Joseph Smith had lied in many cases publicly and denied practicing polygamy. Joseph Smith lied about polygamy for the same reason that anybody would lie about anything that they did that was wrong. If something was clearly of God, why would you lie about it? Fundamentalism was not able to fill that void in my life, and I finally left the fundamentalist group. As a mainstream Mormon and as a fundamentalist, I'd been taught that you couldn't trust the Bible, that the Bible wasn't sufficient, that it had been corrupted and was full of errors and problems. The question became, can I trust the Bible? Has it been translated correctly? And we could look at the history of the manuscript evidence, and we can see how clearly God had set His Word apart from all other works of antiquity, just by virtue of the amount of manuscripts that exist of the New Testament. The grass withers and the flower fades, but the Word of God would stand forever. And either those things were true or they weren't. I realized that Mormonism was clearly Joseph Smith's invention. I've repented for thinking that God was once a man. I mean, that's just utterly blasphemous. I've repented for thinking that the blood of Christ was not sufficient. You know, those things strike at the very character of who God is. And so that's why I am where I am today. I was looking for something. Really, I was looking for someone. I was looking for Jesus Christ, and I finally found Him.